And we're up. All right. Last time on A Crown of Cold Iron, the intrepid heroes, the heroes of Queensborough, have slain a Lord of the Fey Dragons. Lord Lambton, Lord of the River of Mists and Illusion, is dead. You all were seeking to rescue the stolen Tuathan Knight Mort, the well, there's not a great term for what he is for Cyrus. Mentor, magical essence donor, mysterious life shaping influence, all of the above. You all were seeking to rescue him. You were trying to track down the source of a group that was trafficking humans into Fairy. All the threads pointed to Lambton, who is, of course, Oric's own patron, a lord of a great deal of silver dragonborn. You tracked him to his watery palace on the River Weir, and he was very congenial at first. But when he realized that there was some kind of unspoken mystical connection happening between Cyrus and Mort, he panicked, leading to a confrontation with Lambton in his huge, towering, draconic form. Our Fey Dragonborn Auric has been revealed as... Well, it's not entirely clear what he's been revealed as. Some kind of incarnation, variation, iteration of the human Sorcerer King, known as Bran. Bran the First, the Raven King. The Sorcerer King who helped cause the Sundering 1,500 years ago that split the human realm from all the others. So we pick up on Lambton's sort of palace barge. All of his servants have fled. Lambton's huge draconic body is just sort of floating in the river, which both was his power and was sustained by his power. There has been a huge ripple that has run through the entire river. And even now, the glowing opalescent mists are dancing erratically. And we pick up there. What are you all going to do?
So that was the thing.
Does that mean one of us becomes the new lord?
Not it.
There is a crackling of lightning as the quickening begins. No. That's actually a great question. Oric, give me a history, religion, or arcana, any of the above. And you can roll it with advantage.
Well, history sounds like it makes more sense, but it's the same as arcana anyway. How's an 18 look?
Very
18
nice.
looks pretty good. This is some of the fundamental metaphysics of fairy and of being Fae. Lambton is... Lambton is dead, long live Lambton. It will take a while, but a being in essence the same as the Lambton who just died will reform. But it might take decades or even centuries as his essence is slowly sort of reaccumulated and formed into the right shape.
Awesome.
Okay.
So then I can kill him again.
Yep.
Basically.
As a powerful Fey Lord, he will eventually sort of settle back into mostly the same shape. The more powerful a Fey individual is, the more closely they will resemble themselves in a future iteration. Whereas the kind of thing that we thought Auric was, There's a sort of certain amount of silver dragonborn energy in fairy, and dragonborn with perhaps specialized roles or certain types will continue to appear, but usually it's not so specific that it's the same person. It's more that the energy just gets recycled. But now there is a giant dead Fey Dragonlord corpse in the river. There is Mort, who is still Mort is still in that sort of not as emaciated, still looks rough. Is in this form of this ancient warrior. Looks paler than he should, even though all versions of Mort tend to be very pale. A trait that you have seen in spades in Alex and Sana, and I think even a touch in Cyrus. So, notably, Mort also has these sort of horrible scars just all over. And some of them are large. The cloak of black raven feathers that hangs down his back is sort of ragged looking. Vela is like just looking straight at Auric, waiting for the right moment to have to ask 10,000 questions.
What the fuck happened to you?
Lady Marta is just kind of like, well, all right, problem solved.
Problem solved.
Yep.
Do you all?
At least I'm still surrounded by my spirit guardians, which we decided was more like a pool of fire this time around.
Yeah, you have sort of an aura of flickering gray fire that is just dancing in the space around you. Occasionally, there might be glimpses of the fire sort of like sparking up, almost like smoke blowing across something that you couldn't see. And for just a second, you see the impression of your patron lady's face. Now, apparently, your only patron. What are y'all gonna do?
Free boat. I guess look, we should. Is Mort okay?
Mort answers in a language that none of you all speak. And then it's like he like tastes it and is like, and he tries again and he says, I'm right here. But he says it in the ancient common that only Auric understands. And he goes, I'm right here. And now it comes out in common.
Right.
You still see a few of the ravens that had descended on Lambton's body. They have taken wing, and most of them have disappeared. But there is still like, if you were to do like how many ravens are there? There's probably dozens still. Like some are flying in the sky, some have like settled along the edge of the ship. Some are in trees on the far shore to either side. I will survive.
Only because I've never gotten to say this before. Can we like search Lambton's body? Does the dragon have pockets?
Yeah, so
What's it got in its pockets?
So there's two options here. And I'll tell you that both of them will yield something. But there might perhaps be a time element involved. The very things that Lambton is made of in his sort of full form are incredibly valuable. I mean, you've seen like Vela kind of giving sort of covetous glances at it. Also, it's very likely that the human form of Lambton, whatever he was carrying, is somewhere nearby. Whether it might be like it might have fallen in the water, it might be on the ship somewhere, but those items are probably around as well.
Plus free ship.
Right.
Does anybody have water vehicle proficiency?
No, I don't think I have that. Just a driver's
I could
license.
pretend I do.
Dangerous.
Bet you didn't think that was going to come up much in the modern urban fantasy campaign.
I
And
could
that's
probably not run on the ground. Probably.
Probably.
So I think Cyrus would do a like look on the boat
Mhm.
for anything that Lambda might have dropped.
Mhm. And
It sounded like, am I right in interpreting option 1 there as something relatively grisly?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
game.
I mean, he was a giant fairy dragon coalesced basically out of the magic of fairy. Yeah, it would definitely be grisly.
Cyrus is interested in things he dropped, not things that he was.
I've got a couple daggers. I start trying to pry things off based on what Vela's looking at.
Okay. That's one way to do it.
Let me figure out what in the world kind of check that is. I think probably the way to do that once I get this open. I think that's probably going to be rolling like maybe her intelligence and you giving the help action.
Okay.
I'm trying to find the intersect of like things you all can actually do that make sense.
Fair.
Yeah, we're gonna say so her. We'll say her Arcana. So I'll have Auric roll this. Roll D20 plus 7 with advantage.
All right. That happens to be my deception check, so I'm just going to roll a deception.
All right. And for Cyrus, give me an investigation check.
Just straight investigation.
Oh, I just realized my sound is coming out in the wrong place. There we go. Straight investigation, unless you want to do something to improve that.
Don't think I've got anything that improves it. I'll just do an investigation. $22.
Nice.
Just there we go. So we'll do Oryx check first. So Auric with an 18. There are a few things that Vela seems interested in. And between the two of you, and I would say Marta probably helps with this as well. Just this doesn't bother her. She has killed and dismantled a lot of things in her time, and she knows full well that Lambton will be back, and in her sort of semi-immortal state, he'll be back sooner than she likes anyway. So this doesn't bother her.
Lambton coming back at all is something she doesn't like, and she knows she doesn't have a whole lot of say over that.
So you end up with a quantity we will quantify later of his scales, elements from his massive wings, the dust that comes off of his wings. You find that if you mishandle it even a little bit, it turns to mist in the air. You get the impression it is like a crystallization of this mist that flows around. And you find the same thing with his blood. His blood becomes mist, so you end up with teeth, blood, scales, dust, and wings. All of which Vela is very excited about. But as you're doing this, she's really excited about it, and is sort of talking about all the properties of it and this and this. And without dropping a beat in the middle of it, she just says, and don't think this means that you're off the hook. We are going to be talking later. And wow, the properties of this blood are amazing. Do you see that it becomes animate when it's exposed to the mist? And Marta just sort of lets out a whistle when she says that. Woof. So Cyrus, you are sort of investigating around the ship. And what you discover is that it looks like when Lambton took his draconic form, when he sort of dissolved into mist, that wasn't an illusion. Lambton, in his humanoid form, dissolved and reformed. Which means that the things that he had on him were sort of left on the spot. Things of immediate interest, there is some kind of ornate rapier, which actually looks very, very similar to what Stultus was using. There is also a very gaudy amulet of some kind in a small, tightly sealed bag, like a leather pouch that's been tied very tightly, and it doesn't seem to want to open when you pull at it.
Amazing. Sorry, we're having a moment here with the cat. Amazing.
What is Lexi doing while this is happening?
Lexi's feeding Maisie. She'll be right back. All right, there's your last one. Let's see. What is Lexi doing while all of this is happening? Lexi is probably, I was gonna say, the first thing Lexi's doing is kind of staring at what's left of Lambton, because Lexi's seen a lot of shit in her day, but that's just gross. the decaying bodies she's had to deal with are nothing like this. So
I think maybe what's maybe more distressing about Lambton's death here is that even in his death, there is still an element of like charm and illusion. Like, this is not like an animal that has died, or even like a normal person, where there are processes that happen. Lambton, every part of Lambton still releases that faint hint of like something sweet and fragrant. And as parts are sort of cut and pulled away, as blood is extracted, anything sort of gory or sort of viscera like, instead there is like this outpouring of opalescent mist.
so it's almost like more like what you would think about what it would be like to dissect a Care Bear rather than just to kind of like give that image of how rainbows and butterflies are like popping out kind of weirdness rather than
his physiology is not really biological. You are quite literally dissecting poetry. You are pulling apart a metaphor. You are exposing dreams and color and beauty to the light of day. Even in death, Lambton would not deign to be meat.
I get out my light shard and poke Lambton. Poke Lambton's remains with it.
Par for the course.
Par for the course. I mean, that's what Lexi does. Don't understand it? Poke it with the rock.
You do notice the rock. this crystal, this sort of manifestation of condensed hero light. There is an odd effect. It causes parts of Lambton that you poke with it to sizzle slightly. But more than that, for a moment after you poke it, it doesn't look as fantastical. It looks less like this beautiful creature of myth and legend and magic, and more like a big, dead lizard snake. For just a minute, and then it kind of reasserts itself.
Okay.
All right. So Cyrus has recovered some of the more tangible spoils. Auric, Vela, and Marta have... It's funny. You almost look like you just finished a color run by the time it's over. Like you are just splashed with like liquids and powders, and some of them are like crystalline, some glow on their own. But you are sort of smeared with these different colors. You notice that Vela has very neatly, like, she didn't even really get hit with them the same way you did. It's almost like she had some kind of like spell or item that was repelling these things.
Mm-hmm. I guess I'll also dismiss the spirit guardians. Might as well.
Isn't it like 10 minutes? It's a surprisingly long spell.
I was kind of wondering if Mort would wander over into them, and I was curious to see what would happen.
Um,
I'll just say at the end of the 10 minutes, I'll dismiss them to get health back. But
actually, I will say, like, if it doesn't seem like it was hurting Mort. You caught once or twice where he like stepped a little too close, and something about it just doesn't bother him. I think in the absence of any kind of direct need, uh, Mort is just kind of like has like pulled some pillows over and is just kind of laying with his head slightly propped up. You
Trying to
notice
regain his bearings.
some of the scars are fading, not like they're healing, but like they're being concealed. After you all are searching for a minute, Mort finally lets out a sigh and goes, you all just might want to be considering that someone probably noticed that. Just a thought. And he closes his eyes again and lays back.
Yeah, I think it's time to signal our captain.
Yeah.
well, we're not going to take this boat. Come on.
I'm not driving it. I don't think you can drive it either.
Okay, fine.
There's like, I recognize like the language is a little loose, but seeing as how I feel like we're still technically in the middle of a jailbreak, I would prefer to go back to a lower profile.
Okay.
Mort is kind of getting up slowly, clears his throat, kind of dusts himself off a little, and says, don't forget the regicide. Mid jailbreak, post regicide.
Point.
Yeah.
The what do we call it? The silver horn? We're gonna say the silver horn.
Sounds good.
The familiar form of the silver horn makes its way up once you sort of flare your signal light. The slender Minotaur captain, he sees like the dead and decaying body of Lambton, and just kind of like there's just a moment of like sheer what energy, and then he just gives another little well, we should probably be on our way. Yes.
Yeah.
Where are we going?
Back the way we
Going
came.
back to Midweir.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Midweir.
That's as far as that's like as far as he can take us, right? Like
So there is a down Weir. Typically typically his boat runs the up and down the three cities as sort of like a essentially as like a river tour kind of vibe for like the Fey elite. Yeah, he wouldn't be able to go too far past that. It's just not the right kind of ship.
I was just like for the purposes of getting back to the portal and or places of interest along our way. Feels like we might as well just stop at Midweir.
Mm-hmm. Basically backtrack.
Yeah.
All right. So the the little goblins in their little vests, their tiny sailing uniforms, let out their little and oh, that made my lip tingle. And they man the oars and get the ship sort of turned around. The captain is very delicately not asking about either the dead Dragon Lord or Mort, and is just sort of very resolutely facing forward. You all can take a short rest while you're on the boat. And is there anything else you want to do while you're heading down the river?
I don't know.
Cyrus is going to pull out the magnifying glass and cast Identify on the leather pouch after flipping a coin to decide which one.
So it appears to be some kind of like modified bag of holding. You don't get a sense of the contents. And there appears to be some kind of arcane lock on it. The modification in this case appearing to be some kind of security feature to it. It doesn't seem like something you can crack with the tools and expertise on hand. With the assistance of the Blackthorns and some of their facilities, or something equivalent, it shouldn't be any problem to get open.
Okay.
Auric, are you still in your human form?
Yes.
Let's do this wrong.
My wife has both autoplay videos turned on and her volume turned up. Just as a general state of being.
It actually wasn't that.
So, Mort makes no effort to engage in conversation. He has accepted some it's hard to tell exactly what it is. I'll say, Lexi, give me a history check with advantage.
$13.
All right. You obviously wouldn't recognize like exactly what it is, but you recognize you know the demeanor of someone who has ordered like an expensive hard liquor. There's just like a vibe to it, especially in the way that he's sort of like is like looking at the glass, the sort of shape of the sort of tumbler that it came in, and Mort is sipping at something dark and luxurious looking that you would assume has an exceptional alcohol content. It makes the shadows visibly deepen a little bit around him. Anything else as you all are making your way downriver? All right. One thing you do notice is the sort of erratic patterns in the mist coming off the river have not stopped. If anything, it is not necessarily more movement, but it's like the movement is becoming more cohesive. There are sort of large, like sinuous spiraling shapes coming off of the water. There is a motion to it that there wasn't before. You all also notice there's nothing in the woods as you come by. You don't see any creatures or animals. It is the surroundings are eerily still. So after a few hours, you all arrive back at the docks of the Weir. You can see there are ships still coming and going. Both the sort of smaller ferries, like what you all are on, and things that look like large sailing ships. Ships of strange and unusual designs. And the captain lets you off at the dock. He has a few sort of whispered words with Lady Marta, and then he gets out of there. He does not want to be associated with whatever just happened. Is glad to have done his job well, but is gone. So you are back in Weir. Where to now?
Do we want to go check on the changelings?
Probably not a bad idea, yeah.
Are we gonna have to fight people if we do?
Not if we don't advertise what we did.
Okay.
Everybody give me an insight check.
Does Mort have a way to disguise himself?
20. Dirty 20.
$18.
Same.
Some excellent checks. You all notice that there is... It's not at the level of panic, but there are enough people who seem to have already figured out that something is wrong. Auric, you would just know Lambton is part of the fabric of the magic here. There's a lot of institutional things, bureaucratic things that happen, but also there are just tangible magical connections to Lambton all over the place. And you can see people look nervous. To compare it to the real world, it's that moment when like news has hit Twitter, but it hasn't hit like CNN yet. So like some people are noticing, but it's still kind of in that element of like, is this real? Like, you know, people are saying such and such. And you see some people are even seem to be joking about it. There are all these sort of like little outdoor stands and stalls and cafes and bars, and you see a couple of people. You walk past one table, and they're clearly not like locals. They don't seem to be Dragonborn. They actually give you the impression maybe of Summer Fae. And they're like, they sort of clink their glasses, and they're like, "To Lambton, long may he stay dead." You notice the guards here are looking nervous. And yes, you would also know Mort can disguise himself, but doesn't seem to be able to right this second. Mort is not 100% by any means.
We need to get him a ball cap and sunglasses.
Can we get him any sort of just like
Scarf.
heavy cloak or something to?
So I think part of the answer to the question is we should be in and out quickly.
Just for fun, everybody give me an Arcana check.
$22.
10.
6.
So, again, the dice tell the story that makes sense. Lexi, this just probably wouldn't occur to you. Cyrus, something about it strikes you, but you can't put a name to it. Auric, you're from here. You've lived here. You know how it works. Disguising the physical appearance of Mort is not necessarily that important. Even though Mort is in sort of this ancient warrior version, almost no one is going to recognize this. Like, you wouldn't want to march him up to like one of the queens or something. But just walking through the city, almost no one's going to recognize the physical appearance. However, it was only about 6 or 7 hours ago that a particularly astute, oracular individual was able to point Cyrus out in a crowd for having some Tuathan magic. It's his aura that's going to get you all in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
So again, if we want to go to the changelings, probably fast.
Yep.
Would making him invisible tune that down any?
That might help a little bit.
Okay.
It would at least be like an extra layer.
Cool. Yeah. Cyrus will do that then. He will.
All right. So for an hour, Mort is invisible. So in that case, all of you give me a... I'll let you choose either stealth or deception. And we will take Mort out of the equation.
$22 deception.
21 stealth.
30 stealth.
Jeez. That's interesting. It, Huh. For some reason, when Auric rolls, it tells me what the bonus is. But it doesn't do that for anyone else. Weird. Yeah, with
I
those
noticed
rolls...
it does it. It shows up on mine too.
Huh. Or if it's something to do with Beyond 20.
Maybe.
Yeah, you all are ghosts. You sort of slide through the streets. You look like you're supposed to be there. Folks who aren't paying attention don't even notice that sort of like narrow pass by of like, someone's like walking, their elbow swings, and Cyrus just like and passed. And they don't even know how close you walked to them. So you're making your way back to the house with the changed. This is sort of, again, the nicer area of Midweir. Sort of multi-story houses. You see a lot more sort of green space here, gardens and hedges and fences. You arrive at the house that you had visited just a bit earlier. The door is open.
That seems like maybe not a good thing.
Yeah. I guess we should look in and see what happened.
Hmm.
There is some kind of sweet bun has fallen on the walk outside. Are you all gonna like try to sneak in? Are you peeking? What's the approach?
I think right now I'm just gonna peek.
I think Cyrus is hanging it back to kind of shadow Mort, even though he's invisible.
So just for grins, Auric, give me a perception check
Oh no.
since you're peeking.
Flat roll. 10.
Uh-oh.
You can hear the sound of sort of voices and commotion, but you don't hear anything specific.
Well, they're not dead.
Well, that's good at least. I was gonna say, do we want to check and see if there are any that we need to? I mean, should we take any of them back to our realm or my realm? This is your realm.
Oh.
I mean, surely Argent and Stultus know how to get them back in when they're ready to go.
True.
It was never expected of us to be the ones to do that.
You did at least discuss it.
We did discuss it. It's true. But, you know, what would they have done if we hadn't shown up? Like, clearly they would have had to make alternate arrangements. So.
So are you all going to go in, or
I feel like we should.
Yeah.
I feel like none of us want to because we're afraid it's going to start another fight, but we
should.
probably should.
Cyrus is up for going in, but I think he has clearly established Mort as priority one. So he's letting other folks take the lead on.
Yep.
all right? So who's going to walk in first?
I guess I will.
I was going to say, you're at the front, so
Send Squishy up front.
yeah. I mean, if you want me to go in front of you, I will. Like, but you're the one that looked, so I feel like you're the one that's like got the
In the front.
yeah.
For some reason, the video froze and won't go back. So I'm just going
Oh,
to set it to
fun.
do the whole monitor. Weird. So who's going to go in first?
I think I am.
All right.
I'll be right behind him.
Did you all give your names or anything to refer to you by last time you were here?
I honestly don't remember.
I think I did, but I gave a fake name. What was it?
I'll say you would not have given your real name because you didn't know that Stultus knew who you were.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, I think if I gave any name, I might have said Lexi, which
Oh.
isn't really my full name. So
I told them I was Steve. I think that's what it was.
okay. I do not honestly remember now. So
So Oric, as soon as you step in, you get sort of into like the entryway, and a head like pokes around out from the door into the room where you all went last time, and it is the child you interacted with. Whoops. It is Murph, the sort of peacock satyr child,
right.
and as soon as you poke your head around, you can see his face is very distressed. You see like some redness around the eyes, and even sort of some fresh tears. You also notice that there is a crushed basket of sweet rolls. Only like it's been sort of like pushed slightly to the side, not far from where you've stepped in. And this child runs over and yells, "Mr. Steve! Mr. Steve!" and like grabs your hand and is going to try and pull you back towards that room.
I go.
Is everyone else following, or what's the?
Yeah, I'll follow. I'll probably I'd try to pause and say, "Hey buddy, what's wrong? What happened?"
He will not be slowed down. He's like, "Come on, come on, come on, go, 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 go!"
Okay. Worth a shot.
And when you all sort of poke your heads around the corner, you see the old man, this sort of old wooden man, Balfour, is sort of kneeling over, and there's a couple of other kids there. All of them look sort of worried, and there on the ground is Stultus. And Stultus looks ill. Like all of the gleam has gone out of his scales. He looks less silver than he does gray. And all of the opalescence, the sort of streaks that ran through parts of his scales, are gone. The rapier that sort of hangs off of his that sort of is tucked into his belt has gone pitted and rusted. Looks like part of it has broken off.
Oh.
You can see that it's been a minute. They have like dragged like a pillow under his head. They've got him sitting in front of the fireplace with like a blanket draped over him. But they don't really seem to know what to do.
I mean, I know why he's like this.
Yeah, I know. It's like we know why he's like this. We obviously don't want to upset the childrens. But
Knowing what I do I have any reason to believe that like he would recover or that this is going to be like fatal for him?
This is going to be a big Arcana check.
I mean, I was ready to do medicine, so Arcana is better. Not if I roll a 4, though.
Nope.
Or a 5.
Yikes.
Yeah, that's not gonna go anywhere.
All right. Deception check. He's going to be fine.
Lord.
You can tell that he is sick. You can tell that he is sort of drained. And you can guess that it is related to his connection with Lambton. As to his chances of recovery, whether this is sort of lethal in and of itself, it's hard to say.
Well, you want to poke him with your rock?
Sure. Poke him with my rock.
So this is an interesting question. Think about what you would like what you're attempting to do there, and roll a religion check for me. I'm going to go feed this animal who is growing.
Let's see. What am I attempting to do here? It's kind of less than I'm attempting to heal him. I mean, every time I poke something with the rock, it's more to see what it does. Like, it's like a science experiment.
Mm-hmm.
So you know. I guess I'm trying to my main concern is not necessarily what happens to him so much as not freaking the changelings out, especially the kids. Old wooden dude, he's an adult, can probably handle it. Little Murph, don't want to freak Murph out. So I don't know that I'm necessarily wanting to. And now I forget, is it Stultus or Argent that we're with? Stultus, thank you. I was totally like, wait a second, which one am I with? It's not necessarily that I want to heal Stultus so much as I want to stop it from progressing further. If that's what'll get the kids to calm down.
So
I care less about what happens to Stultus and more about the kids not panicking. And if that means that Stultus at least maybe doesn't recover, but at least pauses in his decreasing. That's the stream that I'm.
So this will be your intention. So give me the religion roll and we'll see what happens.
Okay. A 4.
Oof. Okay, a 4.
Yeah. So that doesn't go well.
Well, here's what I'm going to say. Roll. So call it for me. Heads. No, I won't tell you because you don't know what you're calling. Roll a D100.
D100. Okay. 22.
Something about this does not work. And it does not work in a catastrophic way.
Oh boy.
There is a spark of light from the crystal, and Stultus writhes and shakes. What are you all going to do now?
Yeah, see, he's fine.
I'm gonna remove the rock.
The children
from
are
his
wailing
body and go,
and
oh
screaming.
shit. That didn't do what I wanted it to do. I was trying to help.
Kids, earmuffs.
Yep. Get him into recovery position. Lexi knows about that kind of stuff. Yeah, she deals with enough drunk people.
So what else are you all going to do?
Let's just walk away now. We've done enough to help here.
I guess he's not in a position to be questioned right now. Especially not after me stabbing him with my rock.
The old man turns to you all and is like, but weren't you all going to take some of the kids back with? And he's kind of whispering. It's like, he's the only person. He's one of the only people we know here. If something happens to him, and he just sort of trails off.
I mean, if anybody wants to come back to Queensboro with us, we'll take them. We are not responsible for what happens to you when you return to Queensboro.
Oops. Also, for fun, I have a picture.
Oh, cool. He kind of looks like Jerry.
Yes.
And picture one of the weird mutant kids.
Yep.
All right, so you all just gonna leave them all here?
I said that we could take them with us if they're willing to go.
I mean, the way we came was kind of dangerous, and we were planning on going back that way, so.
It's the same way that they came in, though. Like, they don't know any other way. It's not like they came in through official channels.
I mean, it is sort of the nuclear option, but you all could conceivably go back through the official gate.
It's true.
We could.
I mean, this is not the only gate out there.
Yeah.
You also had leads on a couple of other gates that you didn't follow up on before you left.
That's true.
I feel like that has to be the closest, unofficial gate, or else they would have come through a different gate, right?
Yeah.
Your impression is definitely that they came through that gate for sure. You do know geographically, the gates don't really correspond in that way. I mean, honestly, geography doesn't even correspond in that way. Like, if you knew exactly what you were doing, you could walk 10 feet out of Weir and be in the heart of summer. Obviously, it'd be much more difficult, but it's possible.
Yeah, I mean, I think we offer. Kids want to come.
All right, kids,
We've got
going
two
on a
big
field
scary.
trip.
We've got two big scary aunties with us, so I'm pretty sure we could.
True.
Between the three of us, Aunt Vela and Aunt Marta.
Marta has just kind of been like hanging around at this point. Like, she was very driven to take Lambton off the board, and now she's done it, and she's just kind of like chilling. So she sort of saunters in behind the rest of you all. She seems to have like bought some kind of like sweet fruit from a stand, like while you all were doing this, and walks in, just kind of like, and she kind of like looks him up and down, and she says, fully out loud, "Oh, he's gonna die." And the kid's just like,
Marta, you've just been promoted to babysitter.
Yeah.
I mean, if you all don't top him back off, he's done for.
What do you mean top him back off?
So, like, how do I put it? So, he used to be a balloon that was this big, filled up 100% with Dragonborn. When Lambton made him a knight, he stretched his balloon out and made up the difference with Lambton magic.
And now that Lambton magic doesn't exist,
He still has the same amount of Dragonborn, but now his balloon is too big.
so it gets deflated.
I am going to try to do what happened with the hatchlings. Having no idea what I did, but going to attempt to do it with Soltis.
Marta takes another like. I can show you how to do that.
Fantastic.
And
Do you have this juice to do it?
We're gonna find out.
Marta says, if y'all want to make this happen, I can cover the difference.
Oh man, would that make him your knight?
Ish.
We have to do this.
What do they call it? There was a human phrase where like two people like have a thing, and Balfour chimes in, shared custody. yeah, that's the one. So
All right, Cyrus is just going to start going around and seeing if he can help kids gather their stuff up. And
Oh.
like he's going to start unpacking.
So Lexi, what are you going to do in all this?
I'm not even sure. Like there's so many options. Probably gonna do some like, I don't know. I kind of want to do some like looking around. Whether that's like kind of keeping an eye out on anything happening outside of the house, or like seeing if there's anything else interesting inside the house. I don't know.
All right. So what we'll do then is Cyrus, give me a. I would have you make 2 checks. Give me a persuasion check and an investigation check. You are sort of exerting leadership over the children and getting them moving. And then also like helping them find their stuff and get it together. Lexi, you give me an investigation check, kind of scoping things out, just seeing what's here. Auric, you were going to roll an Arcana check with advantage because Marta is helping you. Vela is watching but not participating because this is way outside of her wheelhouse.
Very nice.
All right. And I'll just resolve these in the order they came in. So, with an 11, Cyrus, you are only somewhat successful in, like, getting the kids moving under their own power and sort of, like, on board with this. There's a lot of resistance. Some of the kids are kind of in shock. Some of them just are like, I don't know you. Which is bold words from children who participated in their own apparent kidnapping. But some of them do kind of help out, and you're able to kind of gather up all of the things that don't look like they're part of the house. Lexi, you're sort of scoping the place out. It doesn't really look like there's anything here other than what the kids have. The building is nice, but it seems like it was expressly set up for this purpose. It doesn't seem like Argent and Stultus ever stayed here permanently. There seems to be like a guest room, basically. But essentially, a lot of their travel was magically assisted. And so they didn't exactly like take luggage. So you're kind of able to scope it out. You do notice outside that sort of tense atmosphere is noticeably getting worse.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's not been a huge amount of time since you got to the city, but just in the time that, like, you walked over here and have sort of had this interaction, one of the things that's very noticeable is that you're sort of along the waterfront here, at least in part. And you can see, like, parts of the city look dimmer than usual, parts look brighter. The mist on the river is still behaving strangely. And there are a lot of ships departing, and there don't seem to be many coming in. Auric. This ritual is not incredibly complicated. Marta walks you through it. Functionally, all you're doing is just channeling a big block of power into Stultus. All of the other effects of this will follow from that. So Balfour sort of groans and winces as Marta takes a claw and just, like, carves a simple circle in the wood floor around Stultus's body and, like, makes a few marks, and it's just to sort of channel and contain this magic. And she has you place your hands on him and then places her hands on top of yours. And as you sort of put the magic, sort of tendrils of magic seep out from you, and they are answered by a hungry absence in Stultus. The sort of osmotic pressure of it is like a whirlpool, and the magic that you sort of push into him immediately, like, and you can kind of feel as it quite literally hits, like, the bottom of the bucket. And you can feel just how deep that is. Mechanically, Let me double check my CRs here. Mechanically, Lambton pumped Stultus from being like a CR1 to a CR9. And you are making up the difference out of your own magic. And so you feel this hungry pull. And where is Oryx's head in this moment? What is he thinking and feeling as this happens?
Why am I doing this again? Oh, right, the kids. That's why.
Would you maybe have some hope that he could be a better person?
Not really, but I am kind of laughing at the thought of him being bound to Marta.
So you can kind of envision it. There is like a fading, flickering silver fire down at the core of Stultus. And this sort of unseen wind blows, and it flickers rapidly and seems on the verge of going out. But this magic that's in you, strands of gold and silver start to pour out. You feel that draconic magic, that fey magic that you've cultivated for so long. That magic of grasping earthen hands and scorching rays and fireballs and fire bolts. You feel all of it. And little by little, Stultus starts to fill. That flickering silver ember sparks and grows a little more steady. But you notice it also is taking on like a tinge of gold. Little golden sparks are flickering through it. But it doesn't take long before all of that gold and silver energy, you start to run dangerously low. You can feel it tugging at parts of you that are not the magic that you restore every time you rest, but the parts that make you up, that hold you together. And like a faucet being turned off, the gold and silver sort of drip, drip, and then it stops. Marta picks it up. This stream of this sort of earthy brown and black energy with a weird strand of white gold. It's almost like a long, delicate silken thread wrapped around this magic of like earth and bone and claw and fang. And this magic pours down. And this magic, like, your magic is close enough to Stultus's that his body easily accepted it as his own. This magic makes him like, his whole body kicks. But you see that fire roars inside of him. And now there are strands of this black and brown. They don't sort of much burn up and out, but they almost form like a dense lump, a core at the center. And I think probably you and Marta are both like focusing very deeply on this, eyes closed. But you do sort of hear like a mumbling in the background, and our omniscient narrator might note that not long, but like short, black, straight horns are growing like right out of Stultus's head. But after a moment, Marta's energy begins to run low. Marta has a lot of power, but her power is her. It's bound up in her bones and scales and muscles and horns. And this empty vacuum starts pulling for something else. And almost like a hand moves from turning off this faucet of gold and silver and reaches over and suddenly cranks this huge wheel, and like a fire hydrant of gray fire goes.
I was wondering about that.
And it only takes about 10 seconds. Stultus grows hot under your hand, which is a harsh contrast from like the relatively low icy temperature of a silver dragonborn. And it doesn't even feel like that much energy. You realize that what you have tapped into of this power before has been sort of limited by your ability to grasp it. But this isn't about technique or channeling or handling the magic. This is just pure volume. And in terms of volume, you have barely scratched the surface. All of this magic, there's a shockwave. Not enough to actually push any of the children, but certainly to like blow back hair and feathers.
They get a little ruffled.
The fireplace goes out. And Stultus is now... There are like flecks of gray fire illuminating him. And Vela casts a light spell. And Stultus has been changed. Stultus, under Lambton's influence, was more slender, more graceful. Mechanically, something closer to like a Valor Bard. Maybe a Valor Bard Hexblade multiclass. Marta just pumped in a couple of levels of Barbarian. Stultus has gained like 50 pounds of muscle.
Oh dear.
All of the clothing and like bits of armor that he was wearing are like strained, and you just like a chest strap just snaps. And you see these horns, these distinctive straight black horns. Marta just stands up like, all right, did that. But you can see that as Stultus coughs, there are little bursts of smoke and silver fire, and gray fire that from the corners of his mouth. And when his eyes snap open, it's like for a second you can see almost like into the substance of his eye, and there are flecks of gray fire floating there as well. The silver sheen is back, but now it is heavier in places. He almost looks more like a dire dragonborn. There are like plates of like natural armor. Some spines have sort of crested up slightly. And you can also see that there are streaks of almost gently smoldering gray running through his scales. And he starts to stand up. And he sort of like wavers for a second. And he says, "Ugh, what did you... What have you all done?" And there's another of smoke and gray fire. And outside, Lexi, you see that something is starting to happen. You can see in some of the parts of the city that have gone dim, it looks like there are lights gathering. And at first, it looks like it's just maybe some kind of light spell. And then you realize it's like individual lanterns being held by dozens and dozens and dozens of people gathering together. There is a tension running through Weir, and you can feel that it is about to snap. And that's where we'll come back next week.
Okay.
So I will stat up the various things for next week. I'm going to go ahead and kill the stream.